Greetings everyone, I'm Record the Second, and welcome to a quick update video on my data packs. I haven't released a video in a long time, so I thought why not just show you some of the things I've been working on. And let's start with the most exciting announcement, in my opinion at least, my new data pack, and it's called Nether Weather. If you're familiar with Overskip, then you know that these features used to be part of that data pack. So I kind of did something similar to what I did with more mobs and mob tweaks and split that one pack into two. And it's pretty similar to what it was, but now there are different additions. For example, the storm can now actually damage you, and you can wear leather armor or any armor to protect yourself from the effects of the storm. And there's also a new event that's exclusive to Nether Wastes, and I called it the Heat Blast. And it's going to replace storms in the Nether Wastes because it doesn't really make sense for there to be storms in the biome since there are no particles. There are a bunch of more subtle changes, and don't worry, I'm going to make a full showcase video on this data pack when it comes out, top to bottom, reviewing everything you need to know about it. And with that out of the way, Overskip itself also has gotten some features. For example, renewable paper in the Nether, and being able to obtain the mob heads in the Nether. There's also something else you can do, and that is you can now craft slime balls, and the old netherite crafting recipe is now also back, which is much better than when we got in 1.20 overall. It makes sense in Overskip because getting diamonds is much more difficult in the Nether. So if you're like me and you also hate the new netherite recipe changes, you can check out Overskip. Also, speaking of crafting, there's also an update to the recipe tweaks data pack, of course, moving things to 1.20, and it includes a shapeless calibrating skull sensor recipe, as well as a new and improved calcite recipe. Yes, you have been heard. I know a lot of people hated that old recipe, so here it is. It's different now. And both Overskip and recipe tweaks now have in-game changelogs you can check out, and there have also been a bunch of other tweaks to the in-game text messages you can get through the data pack. Now, onto mob tweaks. Not too many changes here, but there are some updates for 1.20. For example, you can now milk camels and get camel milk, which is the same as milk from cows, but you can also get haste from it. And I have not added this yet, but you'll be able to take saddles off of pigs and striders. And also, I added a feature where camels spawn naturally in the deserts and not just inside villages. And there's another announcement about this pack. It's that I'm now going to be collaborating on it with another pack creator, MC Silver. If you don't know who he is, check him out because he makes lots of data packs, there's lots of really cool stuff, and he often makes data packs that improve mobs, which is very fitting for mob tweaks, of course. And what he's going to be bringing into this pack is improvements for horses, camels, and other mounts, and saddle enchantments. So you're now going to be able to put enchantments on saddles, so I'm really looking forward to those features in mob tweaks. And that's basically it for mob tweaks, which I know I said that the pack is basically finished like what, 3 months ago, but first of all, 1.20 features are going to be added now, so yeah, didn't want to release it for 1.19. And also we decided to collab with MC Silver, so his features have been developed separately so far and not integrated into the pack, but we're going to be working on it. The pack will release for 1.20 as all the other data packs mentioned in this video, by the way. And now onto more mobs. There's a lot of new stuff to talk about here. Let's start with a couple things that are not going to be in the update but are still parts of the future plans for more mobs. There's now a lurker prototype that I've been working on. It's not the very first iteration, but it's really close. It just has a couple tweaks to it. And if you wanted to try the lurker mob in survival, there's actually a release called the Halloween re-release I did for Snapshot 4C, and a secret edition of that is the lurker. So sorry for spoiling for you if you haven't figured that out yet, but you can go play that if you want. But yeah, keep in mind that that is the very first iteration of this mob, and I'm sure there's a lot of work still left to be done on the mob, and I haven't really been playtesting it much with other people. I've been testing it with myself, but obviously I know what to expect from it because I made the mob. And another mob I'm prototyping right now is the Cyclodite mob, which is the cave mob basically. And there's not that much work left on it, but there are still features that I'm considering but I haven't done yet. Really, dude? Right now? The fucking AC turns on. So yeah, basically those are going to be the main cave mob you will be encountering after they get added to the pack in the full version. And right now I'm just prototyping the way they would feel, and they still lack a lot of features, basic things like drops and sounds and their own textures. So yeah, right now I'm just kind of getting the feel of them. So all these mobs that are coming in the future, I'm going to be playtesting those versions so that players can give their feedback before the mobs are finished. And let's now move on to things that might or might not be in the next update. And let's start with the miner changes. So the miner will have a new texture, and also it's going to wear a miner helmet, which is going to be a new item. I want it to be used by players as well, because more mobs does rely on Optifine. This feature works well with Optifine because it's basically dynamic lights, and that removes the need for you to hold light sources in your hand. It's really meant to be mainly cosmetic, but it will be useful if you're using Optifine's dynamic lights. And I really don't know if this is going to be in the next version, because this texture you're seeing right now is not finished, and we have a different design in mind that we're going to be working on. But the artist for this mob, Code Loving Bison, by the way, check him out, he's very talented and he has his own Minecraft projects. But either way, he actually had a missile strike on his house, and that means obviously it's going to take a while to get back to work, and especially considering that it's free. He's just doing this out the goodness of his heart. I guess this will be your daily reminder to support Ukraine. Aside from that, there's a bunch of other things that might not be in the next update. It's a way to find the Nether Fortress. It's actually going to depend on two items that will be in the next update, that being Miasma and the Flaming Tarantula Hunch. So the Hunch itself has gotten a lot of different changes to it, a lot of improvements, and a new redesign. For now, those don't really have uses, but in the future, the one use I'm considering right now is a way to find nether fortresses. Doesn't mean there won't be more uses for these items in the future. I'm open to more ideas, I just don't have any at the moment. And speaking of miasma, there's now a neat particle that after his display, which is dripping miasma. And it's definitely not the last particle we'll be adding, there will be more mob particles in the future. And another really cool addition to this upcoming version is the new scooper functionality, which basically lets you use scoopers as a land boat of sorts. And this doesn't work on hostile mobs, not yet at least, which I'm considering changing that. So let me know if you guys think that will be overpowered or it will be useful and a good addition. But so far it works on mobs like villagers and pets, and basically any passive mob that's not too big. So mobs like horses and polar bears don't work, but most other passive mobs do work. There's a new feature for the Lost Soul mob. It'll now be able to duplicate your items. When it hits you, there's a very low 10% chance. And I know it's not a super spectacular feature, but I think it's pretty cool. And I think that's pretty much all I've got today. The only last thing I would want to mention is that More Mobs is being ported to Bedrock as an add-on, so it's not going to be an exact port, although we are trying to be pretty close overall. However, when there are possibilities to do stuff that I just cannot do on Java, I will take those opportunities. So yeah, it's not an exact replica, but it is a way to play More Mobs on Bedrock. So if things are different, it's not because someone had ideas and wanted to change things, although I don't prohibit that. It's, just because that was something I wanted for the mob to do, and maybe something I want them to do on Java, but I just can't do it because of limitations. So I'm really hyped for that to be public now. It is actually playable. We have a testing server for Bedrock, and make sure to check that out. Again, huge thanks to Graham, who's always hosting servers for me for free, just because he's awesome. If you want to play the More Mobs version for Bedrock, then you can go check that out right now. That's basically all the news I've got. I'm doing small changes. For example, I've done a lot of tweaks to the Ashwing mob, did small touches on it basically, but they do make a big difference in my opinion. And there's only like a couple small things that I'm planning for mob tweaks. Again, like I said, there are some features that might or might not be in the next update, so those are things I'm not 100% sure. But very soon I'll just make the final decisions on everything, and I really hope all these things that I mentioned today will come out by the end of July. I'm not promising you, and if it doesn't happen by the end of July, well, I hope it happens by the end of summer. I think I can do it, but I'm not 100% sure. I just hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, smash subscribe, ring my bell, and as always, stay.